Part 67. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 661. What the old chief said was something Feng Qingxiu didn't know, and he couldn't help but said, "You have such a good memory. I just mentioned Lu Jiang's name and his current occupation, and you can remember what happened a few years ago. As people get older, their memory is not as good as before, but I will never forget any of our country's heroes." Feng Qingxiu's heart was shaken. The old chief touched Zibao, who was lying on his knees, and continued to chew pea yellow. He asked Secretary Tang to bring some water and fed Zibao himself. "The first aid skills you have figured out are very important to the soldiers on the battlefield. I have heard about it. I personally approved Comrade Lu Jiang's first-class merit award a few years ago, and now I personally approve your first-class merit award." Feng Qingxiu hurriedly stood up. "I can't bear it. Deserve it, deserve it." The old leader wanted to say something more, but Zibao suddenly raised his head, quickly left the old leader's legs, stuffed the remaining pea yellow into his mouth, and covered his lower body with his hands. He wanted to say something but couldn't because his mouth was full of pea yellow. What does he want to do? The old chief was extremely worried. Feng Qingxiu suddenly remembered that before getting into the car, she asked Zibao to pee. It had been a long time now and he probably couldn't hold it in any longer. She opened her mouth, but before she could react, Zibao was already squatting on the ground. There was a puddle of urine on the ground. Feng Qingxiu blushed and apologized to the old chief. The old leader laughed and asked Secretary Tang to clean up, while saying, it's okay, children urinate to ward off evil spirits. Don't say that. You have a cool breeze blowing on your face everywhere. How can you have any evil spirits? The turbid air in the world has long been avoided by you. Why do you need him to urinate to solve it?" Feng Qingxiu said, while helped Secretary Tang wipe away the urine stains on the floor. Zibao was at a loss. He finally swallowed the pea yellow in his mouth and said to Feng Qingxiu, "I need to pee." "Why didn't you tell Mom that you wanted to pee? Didn't Mom tell you that when you want to pee in the future, you should tell Mom first and she will send you to the toilet to pee? Look at you, peeing in Grandpa's house, how many times not polite." Zibao's two little fists touched each other, and as soon as his aggrieved expression was revealed, the two old people felt distressed. "Look at you, why are you talking about him? Isn't it normal for children to pee everywhere? Lao Wang's grandson Jianer peed in my wash basin, and I didn't say anything about him." The old chief spoke, reaching out to hold Zibao in his arms. Between his legs, Zibao is very well behaved, not rude. Don't listen to your mother. Ah. Grandpa. Zibao seemed to understand who could support him, and his attitude towards the old leader became more enthusiastic than before. "What's this child's name?" the old leader then remembered to ask. Feng Qingxiu secretly glanced at Zibao and replied, "The name given by his grandfather is Lu Tianmao. This is a good name. Once you hear it, you will know that Comrade Lu Ziwen is a talented person." The old chief touched Zibao's head and said, "There is no harm in studying more. Let this child study hard in the future. Don't worry, I will definitely follow your instructions and supervise him to study hard." The old chief asked again, "Have you given the little one a name?" He was referring to the child in Feng Qingxiu's belly. Of course he could see such a big belly. Zibao immediately said, "Sister. My sister. How are you sure it's your sister? Can you tell?" the old chief teased Zibao. "Younger sister." Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 662. Feng Qingxiu was afraid that Zibao would call her sister again and again, so she hurriedly stopped his conversation and said, "I haven't determined the boy or girl, and I haven't given a name yet. If you give the child a name, it will be his third name, the blessings that come from life and cultivation." What seniority should the children be ranked in? The old leader asked. Tianzi generation, Zibao's two cousins are named Tianwan and Tianzi. The old leader thought for a while. They all mean smart and beautiful things, which shows the elders' expectations for the younger generations. Yes, Father Lu also said the same thing at the beginning. After pondering for a moment, the old leader said, yes, if it's a girl, let's call her Lu Tianhui. If it's a boy, let's call her Lu Tianxiu. The names of my brothers are the same. Feng Qingxiu was overjoyed. Thank you, old chief, they are all very good names. Well, future children have one more thing to show off than Zibao, and that's where their names come from. Anyway, when in front of the old leader, Feng Qingxiu always thinks about the future. After all, the people in front of her are all great men and ancestors that she would never have come into contact with in her previous life. At this time, Secretary Tang came over and said, the meal is ready. Feng Qingxiu, who has long been accustomed to not eating at other people's homes without bringing dry food, was about to say goodbye when the old chief said, you all stay for a meal. I have something else to ask you. The old leader had already spoken, and Feng Qingxiu could only swallow her words of farewell. As a result, she found that even if he is the head of a country, the old leader's meal is not luxurious, but a simple 4 dishes and 1 soup. This is still in the presence of guests: a braised pork, a steamed sea bass, a fried egg with green pepper and a hot and sour potato shreds. The soup is tofu soup, and the rice is corn crumbs and brown rice. In addition, the cook specially cooked a bowl of 3 fresh wontons for Zibao. Do you know which dish the old leader likes the most? Wang Taizhong asked Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu said without thinking, braised pork. You'll know it when you see the braised pork placed in front of the old leader, and she only eats braised pork without soy sauce. She doesn't know if everyone in future generations will know about it, but she knows the old leader's diet. Taboo. The old leader and Wang Taizhong both laughed. Zibao was still not satisfied after eating the wontons. He pointed at the steamed sea bass and said, fish, eat fish, eat fish. Feng Qingxiu had cooked this dish for her son. Of course, she had hidden it from everyone except Lu Zhang and Zibao, but the little guy had a particularly good memory when it came to food. He shouted for fish, and the old leader immediately grabbed a piece of fish. Blow on it and put it in his mouth. The sea bass has less bones and is delicious. Finally, half of the sea bass went into Zibao's belly, and the little wontons were not spared either. I'm full. Zibao touched his belly with satisfaction. He walked to the living room, climbed on the coffee table and lay down on his back. Maybe he felt that the shape of the coffee table and the Kong were the most similar. Fortunately, Secretary Tang had collected all the tea sets on the coffee table, otherwise they would have been swept away by him. Feng Qingxiu looked embarrassed. Zibao suddenly sat up and rubbed his eyes with his chubby hands. Mom, I'll take a pillow. How about you sit on Mom's lap and Mom hugs you to sleep? Feng Qingxiu stood up and was about to take Zibao back when the old leader said, when the child is sleepy, tell him to go to bed. The coffee table is cold and it's not convenient for you to hold him while you are eating. Secretary Tang, please bring Zibao. Bao went to my room to take a nap, and I gave him a pillow and a towel to cover his belly to prevent him from getting cold. In the end, Feng Qingxiu sent Zibao to bed. Before going to bed, she went outside to pee. It would be very embarrassing if she wet the bed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 663. Zibao was so sleepy that she fell asleep on the bed without Feng Qingxiu coaxing her. A patched towel was placed on Zibao's belly. Feng Qingxiu quietly came out and washed her hands before returning to the table to eat. As a result, the old leader and Wang Xinchen were waiting for her. This scene made Feng Qingxiu particularly embarrassed. "It's nothing. I am the host and you are the guests." The old leader saw through her thoughts at a glance. "After dinner, please tell me carefully what you have figured out so that I can understand it." "Good." Feng Qingxiu made a new discovery, that is, the old leader was particularly focused and respected the people who talked to him face to face. Well informed, knowledgeable, funny and humorous. "I don't understand medical skills. Apart from the importance of first aid to the battlefield, I don't understand the significance of the other points you raised. However, there are several doctors around me, each with their own special skills. If you have the opportunity, you can communicate and learn from each other," the old leader said. Although Feng Qingxiu doesn't know how to hit snakes and follow them with sticks, she will not miss the perfect learning opportunity. "I have admired all the medical masters for a long time. If I have the opportunity to meet with you, I will humbly ask for advice and make up for my shortcomings. Don't be afraid you're joking, I'm just a halfway doctor, also known as a dabbler. I talk more on paper, but when it's time to take action, I'm blind." The old leader smiled and said, "Throughout the ages, countless famous doctors have become monks. Who said you have to learn Tongzi Kung Fu? You are still young. If young people don't relax and study hard, they will definitely achieve something. Don't belittle yourself in front of me. The old leader is right, the days are long and you have plenty of time to study. I am very optimistic about you," Wang Baozhong continued. Feng Qingxiu solemnly said, "I will definitely not let down the teachings of your two elders." Medical skills, whether Chinese medicine or Western medicine, really aroused her great interest. As early as when she participated in the doctor training, she had already decided that she would make this her career in this life and take saving lives and healing the wounded as her own responsibility. The old leader should like studious children very much. After Zibao woke up, Feng Qingxiu said goodbye, but the old man told her to wait. Feng Qingxiu stood still, and the old leader went to the study. After a while, he took out two things. "This is a collection of poems that I wrote in my own hand before. I gave it to Xiao Zibao as a meeting gift. I hope that he will study hard and make progress every day in the future of our motherland. The other thing is given to you. I hope you will not let your talents go and continue your education while teaching others." "Old leader, don't worry." Feng Qingxiu suddenly felt like she had found a treasure and patted Zibao on the head. "Zibao, Grandpa gave you a meeting gift. It is a very expensive gift." "Thank you, Grandpa." Quickly, Zibao said sleepily, "Thank you." When he left, he couldn't bear to leave. He ran back to the old leader, took his hand and said, "Grandpa." The old leader smiled and said, "Zibao, can you stay with Grandpa?" He didn't respond, but turned around and pointed at Feng Qingxiu. "Mom. Mom has work to do and can't stay here. Grandpa is very tired. Can you let Grandpa rest?" "Okay." Zibao turned back 3 times and waved his little fat paw. "Grandpa, baby, look at you." The old leader laughed. Okay, Grandpa is waiting for you to come see Grandpa, don't let others stop you." In one sentence, 3 words, "Please monthly ticket." If you have a monthly ticket in the new month, vote quickly and go for it. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 664. When she walked outside, she saw a lush rose bush in the corner of the yard. Zibao was clamoring for flowers. Feng Qingxiu secretly spanked him twice, but it was useless. The little guy glared at her and asked her to find the old leader. The posture of complaining. The old leader heard it in the house and loudly asked Lan Tianming to pick some more rose flowers for Zibao. Lan Tianming followed the instructions, broke off more than a dozen branches at one go, and removed the small thorns on them. So, Zibao happily carried a lot of rose flowers out of the old leader's residence. The flowers blocked his view of the road. He walked slowly and clumsily, and almost fell. Feng Qingxiu was so angry that he didn't want to hold him, but no matter no, I took Zibao for a short walk and met an old leader's wife who was out for a walk. She was also a woman whose name went down in history. Feng Qingxiu stood respectfully and said hello respectfully. Don't be so polite. After the old lady smiled and said to Feng Qingxiu, she bent over and asked Zibao, hey, this is the big baby that my wife met and called him grandpa this morning, right? He looks really festive. May I have your name? Baby, Zibao wanted to point his hand at his nose, but failed with his hands holding the flower. He thought for a while, then took out a flower and handed it to the old lady. Grandma, the flowers are beautiful. Pretty. The old lady was surprised. Did you give it to me? Yeah, Zibao nodded his head, which made him peck like a chicken when anyone asked him. So good, the old lady immediately beamed and put the rose flower in the upper pocket of her coat. The bright red rose flower and the green leaves made the old lady look more energetic. When he arrived at the gate, Zibao only had one flower left in his hand, and he gave them all away along the way. Without exception, they are all women. Regardless of age or size, I couldn't be more happy when I received the flowers. The remaining flower was brought back to the dormitory and given to Du Xiaotao, but Du Xiaotao was very happy. Zibao, I didn't love you in vain, right? You are thinking of me even with every flower. Where did the flower come from? Plant flowers now. There are not many people. Flowers and plants are symbols of hedonism, and many people's flowers have been plucked out. Planting of trees is allowed, but flowers are not allowed. It's from the old leader's house. It was probably left by Zibao especially for you. He asked for Huahua so shamelessly that it almost made me die of shame. Feng Qingxiu rubbed her neck and sat on the bed to rest. After a day of tension, she finally relaxed. For her, the experience of this day was incredible. When he heard that they were flowers from the old leader's family, Du Xiaotao held them as if they were treasures. Then I have to keep them well. The place where the old leaders stayed and worked has many flowers and plants and beautiful scenery, which is known to most people in the capital. Du Xiaotao regarded the flowers as treasures, but Feng Qingxiu regarded the two gifts from the old man as treasures. The title page of the collection of poems given to Zibao by the old leader reads, I hope the children of Zibao will study hard and make progress every day. The old leader's own signature and date are written in calligraphy, and the ink is still fresh. Feng Qingxiu's gift is a pen, a new Hero brand pen. After both Du Xiaotao and Zibao fell asleep, Feng Qingxiu treasured the poetry collection and pen into the space as a permanent souvenir. The world generally believed that conversations with leaders were confidential, so even though the medical soldiers were very curious about Feng Qingxiu's meeting with the old leader, they did not ask. However, their attitude toward Feng Qingxiu improved more than a little bit, and everyone got along with her. It was very enjoyable, the atmosphere of mutual learning was very strong, and no one made any mistakes. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 665. When I finally got a break, it was after the victory day. Early in the morning, when a ray of white just appeared in the east, Feng Qingxiu was washing up, and Zhang Xiaoyu came in casual clothes. Even without the military uniform, he still looks heroic. Sister Shui, Zhang Xiaoyu greeted briskly with a bright smile on her face, is Zibao awake? The first thing many people ask when they come here is Zibao. Feng Qingxiu's mouth was full of toothpaste foam and it was difficult to speak, so she pointed to the dormitory. Zhang Xiaoyu rushed in and hugged Zibao, who was rolling around on the bed after waking up, and kissed her fiercely, causing Zibao to move backwards. He hid, waving his chubby hands, no, no. Why not? Don't you miss me? Zhang Xiaoyu looked aggrieved. Seeing Zhang Xiaoyu like this, The little fat man let out a sigh, thought about it, and put one side of his fat face up. When Zhang Xiaoyu kissed the left cheek, he put it on the right cheek, and after kissing the right cheek, he put it on his forehead. Zhang Xiaoyu even kissed him. His nose was not spared. Du Xiaotao was amused for a while. Xiaoyu, you guys are having fun, I'm leaving first. Xiaotao, won't you go shopping with us? Zhang Xiaoyu asked. No, no, I'll go home. My father, mother, brother, and sister-in-law are all waiting for me at home. Du Xiaotao, who had not been home since visiting the border guards, was eager to return. Feng Qingxiu and Zhang Xiaoyu understood very well. After she left, Zhang Xiaoyu sat on the bed and played with Zibao, while Feng Qingxiu carefully applied skincare products. She dug out a few small ceramic tea cans from the space, and now uses tea cans and bottles of friendship cream to contain skincare products. Water, essence, milk, cream, and sunscreen, etc., in a row of small tea cans. Zhang Xiaoyu watched silently for a long time and couldn't help but said, Sister Shui, why are you applying the cream so many times? I don't even apply the cream once when it's hot. Is it just because you put the cream on so many times? Don't you always get a 10? The most enviable thing about Feng Qingxiu, apart from her beauty, is her skin as smooth as snow and jade. Whenever I see her, her skin is like a peeled egg, so white and tender that it can be broken by a blow. Yes. If you don't apply anything, your skin will definitely become very rough. Feng Qingxiu did not deny Zhang Xiaoyu's problem. After applying the sunscreen, she washed her hands specially, then washed Zibao's hands and face, put on ice cream, and then apply a thin layer of clam oil on your hands and rub it out with your fingers interlaced. The long fingers are white and thin, like onion tubes. Zhang Xiaoyu looked at her hands. Compared with Feng Qingxiu's, they looked like old tree bark. I'm going to buy cream and clam oil too, Zhang Xiaoyu announced loudly. Feng Qingxiu smiled, okay, let's eat first. What kind of breakfast is the best outside? Zibao and I will treat you. Of course it's bean juice. Each person drank a 3-cent bowl of bean juice. Zhang Xiaoyu drank the salty one, Feng Qingxiu and Zibao liked the sweet one. The three of them ate a total of 7 big meat buns, and Guang Zibao ate 2, each costing a dime. The waiter selling steamed buns couldn't help but said, hey, this little guy is really good at eating. No wonder he is so lucky. You are blessed, everyone says you are blessed, but doesn't being blessed mean you are fat? Feng Qingxiu stared at Zibao's fat face buried in the bowl of bean juice. Zibao, eat less. Zibao raised his head, with some bean juice on his fat face. No, no, let's eat and grow taller. The boy at the next table chuckled. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 666. Feng Qingxiu and Zhang Xiaoyu heard clearly, and turned to look at the same time. The boy had a round face, a tall and thin figure, and looked elegant and delicate. He had a pair of thick eyebrows and lively eyes. Just like applying paint. Brother, Zibao shouted, with a smile on his eyebrows and eyes. Following Zibao's voice, Feng Qingxiu remembered. On the day they met the old leader, both mother and son met the young man on the way back and forth. At that time, he was walking along the road with an elegant old lady. Of course, the old lady received a sweet kiss from Zibao and a rose branch. After Zibao called her brother, she looked behind the boy with big eyes. There is no grandma. The boy said seriously, yes, there is no grandma. Little fat baby, can I take you to play with grandma? Grandma has been talking about you a lot these days. The flowers you gave to grandma were kept in the vase. Chen Xiaobao, Don't kidnap Xiao Zibao. Zhang Xiaoyu raised her eyebrows and put her hands on her hips. The young man jumped up and said, Zhang Xiaoyu, how many times have I warned you not to call me Chen Xiaobao? If you do, I will beat you. You are Chen Xiaobao, why can't I call? Just call, just call, just call, Chen Xiaobao. Chen Xiaobao waved his fist at her, but unexpectedly Zibao put down his bowl and rushed out, slapped him on the thigh, stood in front of Zhang Xiaoyu aggressively, imitated Chen Xiaobao and waved his fist, I'll beat you up. Chen Xiaobao was dumbfounded and Zhang Xiaoyu laughed. Zibao, you are so kind. Zhang Xiaoyu was so happy that her eyebrows flew into the sky. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly apologized to Chen Xiaobao, I'm sorry, my child hit you, please hit him back. She knew that Chen Xiaobao would not do anything to children, so she spanked Zibao a few times. The sound was very clear, which showed that it was not just for show. Lu Zibao, how many times have I told you? No hitting man, do you know why you hit your brother? It's very rude. Zibao covered his butt with both hands and cried loudly, tears and runny nose spurting out at the same time. Zhang Xiaoyu picked up Zibao and avoided Feng Qingxiu's hand. Sister Shui, Zibao is still young. Why are you beating him? Isn't he protecting me? Chen Xiaobao deserves to be beaten. Chen Xiaobao also said, that's right, don't hit the child, look how pitiful he is crying. How heavy can he hit a child? I didn't feel any pain at all. Feng Qingxiu said seriously, it's not a question of pain or not, but a question of politeness or impoliteness. It's because the child is young, so he can't be allowed to hit anyone casually. If someone hits him, he can fight back. I agree, even if the attack was harsh and I take responsibility for him, but my child cannot hit others for no reason. Indulging in it will only bring irreversible consequences. How are naughty children raised? The result of elders' indulgence and lack of strict discipline. Zhang Xiaoyu and Chen Xiaobao heard what she said and said to Zibao in unison, Xiao Zibao, mother is angry. Your mother is right, what should we do if we don't have the guts to help you? Zibao cried for a while and actually stopped crying. Zhang Xiaoyu wiped his tears and nose, Zibao, let's go, sister, I will take you to buy delicious food. Zibao instantly beamed. Just a few steps after leaving the state-owned hotel, the little guy came up to Feng Qingxiu and grabbed her hand, Mom, Mom. Feng Qingxiu couldn't hold back her laughter, shameless brat. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 667. Chen Xiaobao, who had nothing to do, joined in the fun. Apart from bickering with Zhang Xiaoyu, he just teased Zibao. With such 3 children, the whole journey was lively and eye-catching. Chen Xiaobao is Commander Chen's eldest grandson. Zhang Xiaoyu finally remembered to introduce Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu was stunned for a moment, no wonder she was so familiar with Zhang Xiaoyu, they were both big brothers. None of them were short of money. They all had tickets in their hands. They walked through the department store and bought a lot of things. All the big and small bags were piled on Chen Xiaobao. After shopping, the 4 of them went to Quanjude. As a result, the place was packed with people. There were only a few people waiting in line, but Zibao was so hungry that they couldn't stand it anymore, so they gave up the roast duck and went to Dongleshun instead. Shabu shabu mutton in a charcoal-fired copper pot costs 2 yuan a plate, while grilled mutton skewers cost 2 cents a skewer. 4 people ate a total of 10 yuan. Although Zhang Xiaoyu said she was treating, Feng Qingxiu paid the money first. Sister Shui, I told you I was treating you, why are you paying for it so quickly? Zhang Xiaoyu complained repeatedly, next time we go out to eat during the break, you are not allowed to pay the bill. Okay, Feng Qingxiu agreed simply. Zibao nodded, okay. When it was time to rest again, Zhang Xiaoyu had no chance to treat guests, because the cultural troupe had performances and she couldn't be separated. When she finally took a break, Wang Xinzhen's work came to an end and asked the security guards to be picked up by Zibao and Feng Qingxiu. At home. Wang Xinzhen's children are either at work or in school, and are not at home. There are only his elders, secretaries, and guards. Wang Xinzhen was about to take Zibao out to play, when Feng Qingxiu took out the baggage she had brought. "Uncle, didn't Zibao say last time that the old leader's clothes were torn? I pulled a few feet of cloth and made it for the old leader. I have a pair of clothes and 2 pairs of shoes. Please give them to the old leader when you take Zibao out for a walk." Wang Xinzhen was stunned. "Are you serious about it? Is it still a lie? As a mother, I will naturally do what Zibao said for him. A gentleman promises 1,000 pieces of gold. Even if Zibao is a child, I must teach him to do what he says," Feng Qingxiu answered seriously. Road. "How do you know the size of the old chief?" Feng Qingxiu smiled sheepishly. "When I sent Zibao to sleep, I asked Secretary Tang privately." "I understand. You two should have a good chat at home, and we won't disturb you anymore." Wang Xinzhen picked up the heavy baggage and left with Zibao in hand. Zibao did not forget to wave to his mother and his new grandma. The old leader looked particularly happy to see Zibao. "Old Wang, you came just in time. Can you look at the address on the envelope?" Wang Xinzhen stretched his head and looked at it, and was stunned for a moment. The recipient of the letter is Lu Ziwen, the receiving address is Wanglu Brigade, and the sender and address are naturally the old leader and the management department that specializes in receiving and sending letters. "Old leader, the address is correct and the name of the recipient is correct. Who is this? Although Comrade Lu Ziwen cares about the country and is unwilling to use ES to collect debts, I don't feel good about it. I have been paid this month, so I will send some to him. I will also send a telegram to ask the local government to pay more attention to Comrade Lu Ziwen. We must ensure that Comrade Lu Ziwen's later life." The old leader was a little embarrassed, although it was the beginning of the month when Zibao and his wife came last time, and my salary had just been paid. More than half of my salary was gone before I could get it. I couldn't get it out. I won't write this letter until my salary is paid this month. I have an appointment today, but there will be no more updates. Please vote for me. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 668. After hearing what the old leader said, Wang Xinzhen felt a mixture of surprises in his heart. He was happy for Lu Ziwen, but also felt that the old leader's appearance made him laugh. "Old leader, if you are short of money, just say something. Although my salary is the same as yours, my salary is the same as yours, my expenses are not comparable to yours, and I have savings every month, so I can lend you a sum of money." Wang Xinzhen often lives next to the old leader, and Wang Xinzhen knows the financial situation of the old leader very well. According to regulations, the old leader should receive the first level salary from the country, which is 630 yuan per month. However, after those 3 difficult years, the old leader took the lead in reducing the salary, directly from the first level salary to the third level salary, 400 yuan. 5 cents is a difference of 2 cents. Even though the old leader's salary is more than 10 times higher than that of ordinary workers, his various expenditures are huge. The first is the party fee of 10 yuan, the rent of house furniture is 84 yuan, and the living expenses of his sister-in-law are 3 yuan. 10 yuan, the child's tuition fee is 15 yuan per month, 2 is 30 yuan, and there are dozens of yuan in heating bills in winter. The above are fixed expenses, and other expenses are also not small. Cigarette money is about 100 yuan per month, tea expenses are tens of yuan per month, and food expenses are about 100 yuan. All of them are paid by the old leader himself. Then, it costs money to treat guests. Money, it costs money to take care of fellow villagers. After this calculation, the old leader's salary is almost not enough every month. Only when he was subsidizing others and the family had no money left at all, would the old leader use the royalties stored in the accounting office to use this property that he believed belonged to the country and not to himself. The old leader coughed twice. I'll just smoke less and drink less tea. Can you smoke less? Can you drink less tea? Wang Xinchen said with disbelief on his face. I still believe you when you say you should eat less. He would rather smoke and drink tea than eat, which is what the old chief is talking about. The old leader felt a little guilty, and just as he was about to speak, Zibao suddenly let out a cry, stood on tiptoes and patted the old leader's big hand. Daddy makes money, Daddy is rich, Daddy makes money to buy Kuakuo. When the old leader and Wang Xinchen heard this, they were stunned at the same time. Who does Daddy earn money for? Who does Daddy buy fruits for? The old leader couldn't help teasing him. Zibao clapped his fingers and said, Dad earns money, and Mom buys it. Buy fruit, Grandpa eats it, Grandma eats it, Dad eats it, Mom eats it, brother eats it, sister eats it, and the baby eats it. Baby eats fruit. Baby eats buns. Who wouldn't feel heartbroken when hearing such words? The old leader touched Zibao's little head with a deep smile in his eyes. This baby has such a sweet mouth. Not only does he have a sweet mouth, but he also has a good tutor. Wang Xinchen placed the baggage in front of the old leader and raised his chin towards Zibao. He said in front of you that your clothes were torn and his mother made them. No, he made them for you. Please send me the clothes. The old leader hurriedly said, how can this be done? Whose life is not tight? Lao Wang, please go back quickly. I made it according to your size. Who do you want me to return it to? Who is qualified to wear the clothes Xiaoxiu made for you? You try to see if it fits you first, Wang Xinchen said politely. Also, what did you call before? I am Xiao Wang, why do you call me Lao Wang now? Who can be worthy of being called Lao Wang in front of you? He is more than 10 years younger than the old leader. Xiao Wang, you are confusing me with Lao Wang who peed you and your grandson in my basin, right? The old leader said as he opened the baggage and shook it gently. There was one shoe first. Rolled to the ground. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 669. The two pairs of shoes are a pair of single shoes and a pair of cotton shoes. They are both made of millefeuille solace covered with a layer of white cloth and covered with black corduroy cloth. The stitches are dense and neat. Anyone who sees them will say that the shoemakers are very careful. The clothes are gray tunic suits with large peak collars that the old leader often wears. The fabric is serge and the panels are neat. When the old leader wears it, there is no place that does not conform to it and no place that is out of place. This boy is very good at his craftsmanship. He is no worse than Master Tian. The shoes fit very well and are very comfortable. The old leader touched his cuffs. It must have taken a lot of thought, time, and money. I've heard it a long time ago. Yes, serge material is not easy to buy. Wang Xinchen looked at it for a moment, and secretly praised Feng Qingxiu's ability, but he smiled and said, you are too underestimated. Xiaoxiu only raises a child with the salary of 2 people. Although he has to bear the living expenses of the elderly and children at home, it is not as good as your expenses are very small. Why can't you afford a piece of serge? Zibao, don't you think so? Yes, Zibao answered loudly, and the little chubby hand touched the old leader's new pants. They are not torn. The old leader smiled and said, little guy, let me tell you, if your pants are torn, can you just patch them up? Patching is not a shameful thing. I dare to wear pants with patches on the buttocks to meet foreign guests, and they don't either. Do you think I am wrong? Your grandfather is also a working people. Our clothes and food are the fruits of the hard work of working people. Even the piece of cloth used for patching is cotton grown by working people and cloth woven by workers. Both the latitude and longitude are filled with the hard work and sweat of the workers and peasants. Regardless of whether he understands or not, the little guy just nods his head. Seeing Zibao like this, Wang Xinchen couldn't help but be filled with emotion. Based on this baby's reaction, others couldn't help but dislike him. Zibao, do you understand what grandpa means? Wang Xinchen asked. Zibao nodded, yeah. Everyone knew that he didn't understand it at all, but they were still very happy to hear his answer. Except for foreign friends, the old leader never accepted expensive gifts from anyone, and among the more expensive gifts from foreign friends, he handed over the more expensive gifts to the state, and distributed specialties that could not be preserved to those around him, so he accepted Feng Qing made clothes and shoes, and immediately asked Secretary Tang to prepare money and gifts in return. Wang Xinchen said, "You have no money or anything, so what gift can you give me in return? Let me tell you, Xiaoxiu admires you very much. The calligraphy treasure you gave her as a return gift is 100 times more valuable than the money and things you mentioned." Yes, no, Zibao. Yes, Zibao's voice was loud, Mom, let's read it. Your mother likes reading. Seeing Zibao nodding vigorously, the old leader selected a few books with his own annotations and comments from his collection and gave them to Wang Xinchen to bring to Feng Qingxiu. There were 2 pieces of paper sandwiched between them, with poems written by him himself, etc. After Wang Xinchen and Zibao left after eating and drinking, the old leader added an extra 100 yuan to Lu Ziwen's remittance order. Such a letter and such a remittance order immediately caused a sensation after being sent to Huihei City. When the post office staff sorted the letters and remittance orders, they discovered who the sender and remittance person were, and immediately reported it to the leadership, and then to the government. The final result was that Cheng Baoqiu and several government officials personally handed the letters and remittance orders to Lu Ziwen. Because I have an appointment, I haven't written much. I'll just read it and write more during the day. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 670. When they arrived, Father Lu was driving a mule cart, transporting dried sweet potatoes from the fields back to the granary. He was wearing an old military uniform that had been washed white and patched, with a sweaty white towel hanging around his neck. Comrade Lu Ziwen, Cheng Baoqiu came up and shook Father Lu's hand. Facing Cheng Baoqiu, who was so enthusiastic and a little abnormally enthusiastic, Father Lu was simply stunned. He lowered his head and looked at the letter and remittance slip that Cheng Baoqiu put in his hand. Without reading them all, he said, "Zhang and Xiaoxiu give it to me. Did it come in the mail? It's been less than a month since I last received the letter and remittance order, right? I told them there was no need to send it." Cheng Baoqiu almost choked. "Brother, please read the above clearly before you speak." Father Lu was even more surprised. In front of so many people, Cheng Baoqiu called him brother? This has never happened before. After Feng Qingxiu and Zibao visited relatives and joined the army, Cheng Baoqiu had no reason to come often. "Listen to what you said, I have to take a closer look. It must be a very important letter, otherwise Cheng Baoqiu wouldn't be the postman." Father Lu was thinking as he read the contents on the envelope. His hands began to shake when he saw it. "This is a letter written by the leader to me. How could the leader write to me? No one dares to write a letter pretending to be a leader, and few people can imitate the leader's handwriting. The Lu family kept eas and letters of thanks from decades ago." Father Lu could recognize the leader's handwriting at a glance, but compared to the eas and letters of thanks, the calligraphy of this letter was very smooth and even better. 10 times before. "Yes," Cheng Baoqiu said, "look at the instructions given by the leaders in the letter. We are all here to understand." Before this, the government also received telegram instructions from the leaders, telling us to take good care of them. We are discussing this matter about your later life, and before we can reach a conclusion, the letter from the leader has arrived. This is also the main reason why they came forward immediately after receiving the post office report. Just rely on letters from leaders. It's impossible to get so many people to come forward. Because many hard-working people, especially the leader's fellow villagers, find it difficult to survive, so they write to the leaders for help. The leaders send them living expenses every time. While the news is good news, everyone also once you get used to it, it doesn't feel weird anymore. Father Lu's heart moved, then I'll open it and take a look. He thought for a while and asked Chen Baokyo to hold the letter for him. He went to the river to wash his hands and wiped them with a towel when he came back. Then he carefully opened the letter. Every move he made showed his respect for the leader. What did the leader say? Chen Baokyo asked after Lu's father read it. It was a thick letter. Father Lu was excited but pretended to be calm. The leader said several things. The first thing was to thank our family for donating money and materials to the soldiers during the anti-Japanese war. I have no evidence to ask for debts from the government. The leader said the second thing was that the leader mentioned Zioxiu and Zibao. They were fortunate enough to be cordially received by the leader, and they learned about our Wanglu brigade. Living conditions, high praise for our branch secretary. Wang Zhenqiu, who heard that Chen Baokyo and other government officials were coming, arranged the work in the fields and hurried over. When he arrived, he heard what Lu's father said and couldn't believe his ears.